What's up, my tokers, jokers, and smokers? It's your man, Chef Rodney here, back with another edition of the Daily Chronicles. I'm here today with the fun guy himself, Rick Anstiss from Transcend Micro Grow. Rick, how you doing today? Thanks for coming on the show, bro.
Good, good. How are you? And I appreciate you inviting me on.
Oh, absolutely, man, absolutely. We're doing good. We're doing good. A little bit of a rough start, this morning, but hey, no big deal. Now,
Yeah.
Transcend, man, like I've heard so many things and it's got me overly excited to talk to you about it. And I apologize, but at the same time, like, I gotta know, man, what is a micro license? Like, what is a micro grow? Like, that is a new thing here in Michigan, somewhat. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, well, currently it sounds like I believe there's only eight currently operating in the state.
Hmm.
And that particular license was delivered and presented for caregivers. It was intended for people that were caregiving and maybe wanting to move forward into the recreational space to do that. At the beginning of it, it was very tricky. A lot of people weren't too interested in it. Didn't see the proper margins. But what I saw in it myself was the ability to be craft. And just looking at the craft beer motto, I see it being a booming industry in cannabis, in the sense that, again, craft. So how I
Yep.
do something or how you do something becomes very specific when you go to those two separate facilities, even when you're working with the same strains. So I think that's a something that a lot of the people, state of Michigan, want. We want variety,
Right.
um, and we want to see that different spectrum than what's being delivered from mass production and metric and recreational. So
I love it, man. So, it's interesting because I've said it for my viewers here. I've said it, as long as I've been a cannabis activist, and I said it to the state representatives that I talked about as well. When it came to consumption, as far as putting it in food, that's my expertise. I'm a chef first and foremost, then a cannabis activist. I just earned it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
They asked me how do you view cannabis? They did. They wanted to know because they ask you. They don't know. That's the thing. And I told
Mhm.
them there should be three facets or three lanes of cannabis. There should be home grow. I think everybody should grow at home. Period. It's vegetation. It's medicine, man. I think that there should be
Right.
craft cannabis, which again is where your business and your license and things and expertise lie. And then I say that there should be corporate cannabis. Now I don't like
Mhm.
corporate cannabis, but it's a part of this world. There's a part of these worlds and things in politics that we don't like. That, let's face it, if we don't give them the opportunity to exist, then let's face it, no one can flourish. There's got to be balance. I live in a very gray area of life. I think Mike Diesel, we were talking on Instagram. He posted this thing about being a gray Jedi, and I'm like, dude, I love that shit. So I shared it, and it couldn't be more true. Um, Again, thank you for kind of coming on and explaining that to a lot of people. Now, if somebody wanted to, let's say, become a craft, beer maker or a craft cannabis maker, how would someone go about doing, something like that? How is there a long process? Is it worth it? Like, how would, what's the 411 there, man?
Yeah, well, that's an excellent question, and that's kind of why, as this license was developed and laid out, that the state is also kind of looking for those answers to see
Right.
where it's been and which way it took angles. So, in my opinion, I believe that for your common caregiver, it's not sustained or it's not feasible to get this license as easily as maybe some of the other grow uh, licenses.
Okay.
So, and I say that because of the regulations, and the startup cost. So, I believe there should be something a little bit different in the licensure to make it a little easier. So,
Okay.
in for example, our testing is the same testing that a 2,000 plant grow would be charged.
Oh
So,
man.
yeah, if I have 100 distillate carts created, or cartridges created, I have to put those 20 of those or 12 of those into testing, which is about 20% of my
Hmm.
product, and then I have to pay for that testing, and then I lose that product. Same thing with the flour; it's about $1,000 to test $4,000 worth of product.
Mm.
So there again, there's this big bite testing, and I don't
So
think
you
it's
guys,
necessarily.
so you
Oh
guys are
yeah,
seeing the same cost as a corporate
yeah,
cannabis
and I
grower.
don't think it's necessarily needed. I think we
Okay.
obviously need to be in compliance and pass our testing. But let's say if my flour passes and I make concentrates out of that flour, then maybe if I'm going all the way to making an edible with it, maybe I just need to be tested there instead of the concentrate as well.
Right.
Um, but we'll see. I do have Brad Passat or Paquette coming this Thursday to our facility, and I'm going to bring up some of these issues uh, with him and see what he can maybe help us with, and then of course on the caregiver side, um, I, I want to see a little further where he stands on that matter. It seems like he leans in our favor, and he doesn't plan on voting yes for those current bills in the Senate, so that's a good thing.
Right. And listen, first and foremost, I want to let our viewers know if you're not from Michigan, there is a huge battle, for caregivers here in Michigan. Let me be one of the first of many to say that the reason that Michigan is on the map marijuana wise, cannabis wise, weed wise is because of the caregiver system. It's been, implemented since 2007, 2008, and I mean, it's what we build everything off of. The caregivers paid a lot in taxes. Don't think that they didn't, and that just paved the road for corporate and other and home grow and things of that nature. Now you have to understand that. Why is that a big deal? Well, now you've got, oh, we lost him. Now you've got, you know corporate cannabis wanting to move in and kind of pull the thunder, away from home growers and craft cannabis. One of the biggest issues is that we have an association out there. Oh, there he is. That is actually currently and actively attacking those caregivers' rights, which is no bueno. Listen, we're going to go back to what we were talking about with the three lanes or the three facets of cannabis. There's home grow, there's corporate, or not, excuse me, there's home grow, there's cannabis, and then there's corporate. Okay, left unchecked, those three will kill each other. It's just that's what we see.
Yeah.
Okay, and so there has to be people such as myself, not tooting my own horn here, but to keep those in check. Be like, all right, cool, but why don't you go back to your lane? You know what I'm saying? Why don't you go back to where you want to play? And I believe that you're onto something here, and I don't believe that you should be charged the same amount as a corporate. That's just, it seems like it's leaning more towards like the corporations, because let's face it, a lot of out of state companies have jumped into Michigan for a new market, for and this and that and the other. Okay, they brought their money with them. We can obviously tell that. You're telling me that someone such as yourself at TRANSCEND, okay, opens a micro grow who doesn't want to do it on a massive scale, that is no way, shape, or form a threat to this corporation who's already a multi-million-dollar company, okay? You think that it just doesn't make sense that you're paying the same amount. That does not make sense. There should be completely different. I think that the testing should be same, but there should be a different tax bracket, if you will, a different pay bracket. That doesn't make any sense. If you're paying the same amount as a corporation to test your stuff and remain in compliance, I mean that to me just seems like favoritism. That's just me.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, explain what it means to have a micro grow in the state of Michigan. How many plants can you have, and then things of that nature.
Sure. Well, we're allowed with this particular licensure 150 plants, and we have a progressive grow. So there's a pre-veg, a veg, two flower rooms moving continuously, and then we have a processing center and a laboratory, um, and a vault, and out front we have a retail.
Okay.
So it's pretty much fully integrated, just on that very small scale. Um, And then amongst that, uh, we have a with our vault, we have like a dry cure. So, and then
Okay.
once you fill that up with a micro grow, depending on what's, being dispensed out of the retail side, you you have to find that happy medium where your
Mm-hmm.
vault's not too full and it's not, where you
Empty.
run out.
Right. Right.
So, but so far right now we're okay. We'd like to see some more sales, if anything. But yeah, there's hiccups with the regulations as far as getting the ball rolling. And I think the state can put us in a better place here pretty soon.
I think it's coming, man. I really do. I think that it's definitely coming down the pipeline. Um, how can it not at this point?
Mhm.
Well, if corporate cannabis has their way with it, they're completely put the kibosh on it. So yeah, that's how it
Yeah.
can't. But let's hope that doesn't happen. I
Well, we're
think
loud
that.
enough. Yeah.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Especially me. I mean, I don't shut up. So yeah, that's that's helpful in this case. But
Sure.
I have to say that craft cannabis, if I had to pick my favorite out of the three facets, meaning homegrown, craft, and corporate, obviously wouldn't go corporate. Craft cannabis is near and dear to my heart, and let me tell you why. I'm an anarchist at heart. Always have been, always will be. Anarchy does not mean light a Molotov cocktail and throw it through someone's window. That is not what that means. That means that I don't think that anybody should be taxing marijuana or anything, anyways. Well, we need roads built. Well, I'll let you go take a look back to George Washington. He rigged the first, lottery just to build a road for himself. You're gonna tell me that if it was they were doing it then, they're not gonna do it now? Are you
Right.
serious? No, they've just spent all that time trying to figure out how to convince you. That's it.
Hmm.
And
Right.
how not to tell you. So, furthermore, craft cannabis and micro grows such as yourself remind me of the farm to table movement. You understand, with cooking and with farmers. Okay,
Hmm.
listen, if I go to a farmer and I want to buy some of his products, let's say milk, eggs, whatever have you, okay, there is no damn reason I should give the state any of that tax. Hell no, that's between me and that farmer. That
Hmm.
state ain't do shit. He paid tax. He owns that land. Are you serious right now? So let's change it up. Let's go. Let's say I walk into Transcend. I'm gonna get charged sales tax. Well, people, sales tax, state tax, and every other thing. Okay. Hell, I'm gonna probably spend more, if not the same, on tax than I am cannabis. Okay.
Hmm.
That can be alleviated by growing a home, but I want to support the business. Now, at the
Hmm.
same time, I want people to understand that in a world of legalization, in a world of coming out of this kind of stigmatized bullshit behind cannabis, people are gonna start seeing these micro grows pop up. You're what, the fourth in Michigan?
Yeah, we were the fourth. Yep.
That's huge, man. That's
Yeah.
progress.
Yeah. And at the point in time, we had three others that were opened, and I believe there's one over in Paw Paw, Sun Provisions, and they, they're struggling too. So in the sense that it's difficult, and it could be a little bit easier for the kind of the middle of the road guy.
Right. If I had anywhere to shop, I don't shop. Obviously, I don't shop corporate cannabis. I shop dispensaries when and if I need to. They're mainly for convenience. That's like a convenience store for me.
Sure.
I don't travel with massive amounts. You get the idea. But I do need to medicate. And so I figure it out as I need to go. I think that there is a massive need for more businesses the type of what you do. I think that there's too many causes that we care for. I think that the
Well,
caregivers need to be supported a little bit more, and give a little bit more wiggle room, just out of the due respect of building the foundation for what cannabis is in Michigan.
right. And I like that because that's kind of what I'm coming from is
Hmm.
like I'm not a big corporate guy either. I don't like to see any of those things, but it is an inevitability. So why not um, set a standard in the space that we can? So I'm trying to set a standard that's look, Uh, I'm a I'm a prominent caregiver, well known for quality
Hmm.
medicine, and I use science and research in growing that medicine to alleviate ailments for my patients. And now I've taken that to the recreational space. where people can come recreationally and for a fraction of the cost get a better product than they will from a major company. I think that's a huge value in the industry. And hopefully setting that standard where others will take that step with that premise. And then amongst that, I'm in a small community. So
Hmm.
with my my abilities there, I can now project directly into my small community where again we won't see these
No,
big boys helping.
no, they
They'll
don't
put in a
care.
playground or something. They don't give a shit though.
No, it's a tax write-off for them. They don't care.
Yeah.
It's how much money can they save.
Right.
If I can add more to your point, there's a pin on your hat. The autism pin. That's Amy Carter right there. All right, y'all.
Yeah.
You see these? Buy these. Buy 50 of
Yeah.
them. Okay. There's
Hmm.
too much research out there to show that cannabis. Let me back up. Sorry, I got a little excited about that. It's near and dear to my heart, man.
It is exciting. Yeah.
There's too much research out there to prove that cannabis helps autism than to say that it doesn't. Okay, the reason that, well, why are we having to fight this? Because it was stigmatized for all of these years, and
Mhm.
there's so many things the world needs to change. I'm not gonna even sugarcoat that at all. From racist bullshit all the way to cannabis, and it goes all around the alphabet there. Okay,
Mhm.
you can't sit here and talk about it, y'all. You can't just be like, "Oh, I wish the world would change." Okay, then be the fucking change. That's the truth, straight up. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
When people, I've had a couple naysayers be like, "Oh, you and oh, you, that's great," and then I ask them simply, "What are you doing?" That's it.
Mhm.
Craft cannabis. It's near and dear to my heart because of the caregiver foundation. If you really
Yeah.
want to get nitty gritty and find out, who cannabis helps, where, why, in the medical, and then the facets and stories behind why cannabis was illegal in the first place. You talk to a
Yeah.
craft grower. Now,
Yeah.
let's talk about your craft grow, bud. Like you got what, 150 plants, but again, you said you have different rooms and stuff like that. A
Sure.
lot of people in corporate cannabis, and I sat and watched this. I was there. I believe I actually met you there when they were reading the bills and voting on them and stuff. We Susan Fisher's and I'm gonna get her on the show here soon. She was telling them about her cancer and cannabis use and stuff. And then they
Right.
almost arrested old Rick, didn't they?
Yeah. Damn near they were
Yeah.
after him for
He
telling
was like,
his.
"Let's go." I saw
Yeah.
him whip the
Yeah.
cuffs out. I was like, "Oh shit! I'm gonna record this. This is going on World Star. Let me tell you."
Yeah. No. Well, he had a valid point though because
Hmm.
they were trying to say that there was any validity to the horse and show pony show that they put on, like he
Yep.
said, and they were offended by that comment because it wasn't their agenda. So.
Well, exactly, and that's my point. Like, I was there, you were there. The people that were creating the bills, corporate cannabis here, was given a hell of a lot more time, to prove their points, and a
45
lot more
minutes.
leniency. Oh yeah, we were given
Yeah.
15. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm right there
Yeah.
with you. I don't think that that's right. Just looking at it from the outside, if I had to step back, in my gray area, as I do in life, that wasn't okay. And as soon as I
Right.
saw that, that's when I was like, okay, I'm picking a side, and I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. And yeah, to the point of like I said, I think you're right with the sense that there's three spots. So I say we let corporate do their thing and
mhm,
control them in their spot, in their place, but then you have to let caregivers and the MMA, operate,
right.
and then these micro business and these smaller ones trying to come up into the space.
I,
So
I I agree with everything you're saying. Obviously, I want to go back and just nitpick real quick because if I'm being fair, Gray, um, you had said the word control. We don't want to control corporate cannabis. That's way too much fucking. But you're
right,
right.
right,
We need to contain. Okay, we need it
yeah,
left unchecked. The three will kill themselves. Period. We know
hmm,
this. Corporate's already going after craft growers and home growers. You know what I'm saying? So
hmm,
we already know this. We need to contain and keep everybody in
hmm,
their lanes. Exactly. There's
yeah,
enough money that you're making there. You know what I'm saying? And vice versa. Leave it
yeah,
alone. They don't.
yeah. And then
If it ain't broke, don't fix
patient,
it.
yeah, and on the patient side, we got to leave that alone too because
Hmm.
there's like Amy Carter and her cause. We're currently I'm helping her with that Weedsters,
Mm-hmm.
Michigan Weedsters, and it's just basically um, it's driven by More Than Hope, her nonprofit organization, and it's not an organization. It's just all of us collectively as citizens, as patients, as caregivers, um, is as the industry itself, keeping these municipalities in check as they roll out these different ordinances and as they try and implement these small town rules on something that is, completely legal. Um, we saw in what was that, Grundy County or Grundy Township,
Yeah, I think it is.
um, just the most ridiculous, obscure um, write-ups I've ever seen for proposals
Yeah,
for
it was
ordinances.
I noticed a lot of verbiage that was like, why would you write that? You know?
Yeah, yeah. So we need education in these municipalities, and hopefully Weedsters will be able to provide that with, boots on the ground in some of these small municipalities. I already travel around and hit a lot of my local ones, but I'm going to try and maintain that as, again, they're going to continue to have meetings, not necessarily secret meetings, but they're going to have ordinance meetings, and
They're
these issues are
definitely
going to be
not in our
popping up.
favor though. So people
Right,
need to remember
right.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. They're most of them are not in our favor because they don't understand it, and that's where I tell people my age, 35 and up, let's start getting on these boards. If you
Mm-hmm.
really want to change it, just get on that board and be the diversity
Be
vote.
the change.
Yeah, yeah. So I know that's hard though because politics is some bullshit.
Oh, 100%, 100%. I will say this, y'all. The website for Michigan Weedsters is scrolling at the bottom. That's michiganweedsters.com. Definitely go check it out. There's a lot of good information there. I do want to circle back real quick, if I may,
Hmm.
before we continue on. Um, so, one of the biggest complaints that corporate cannabis had when we were sitting there was the smell of growing and blah blah blah, and they've got this many plants at one time. Okay, hang on, time out. I really wish they would have called me up there because it was like, no. You're so fucking wrong and you don't even know why, but let me educate you. So I have cooked a meal in a field of weed in front of 5,100 outdoor fucking plants. And if you can't smell that, then the 12 plants I'm growing at home shouldn't affect you. You understand?
Right.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying. So,
yeah.
and well, that's outside, not the point. Okay. Moving on
Mhm.
to, let's say, a craft grow. You're not growing 150 at a time. Can you explain that to them?
Yeah, basically through the staging of the plant, a lot of even our legislators, and I've been in a few meetings with others that of the state senate and legislation that didn't know. They're like, oh, I thought just you're
Right.
like caregivers. It's 72 plants and you grow them all at once, and it's like no, no, no. There's
No.
staging and
Hmm.
there's a progressive move there. So yeah, we have a set of mothers that we clone off of in our pre-veg, and then whatever's in our cloners, and then what we put in the first stage, and then veg, and then flowering out. So, um, yeah, it's there's not, and they don't get stinky, of course, until the latter stages of flowering. So generally, we probably have less than a full caregiver motto in flower, probably let's see, 62, 64 plants in flower at any given
And
time.
remind me again. So remind me again. A caregiver is allowed 72, I believe.
Yeah, 72.
So what it sounds like, just real quick, because I don't want to chew that apart, but I do think that we need to break it down for the education of people. So to
Mhm.
further do that, let's start where you ended. Let's say that caregivers can do 72, and you had 60,
4.
64. Okay. Well, just basic math, that's less. Okay. So what
Mhm.
I'm hearing is this. basically, craft cannabis is a caregiver who wants to go pro, if you will. You see what I'm saying? They want to, they want to pay to play. They got their patients, and that's cool, but they want to offer different products, and they want to have sales on site. Now, that is
Mhm.
100% legal with the appropriate fees and licensing and permits and things of that nature. In this case, the micro business, okay? Micro license, all right? So you're to tell me that if I were a caregiver, no matter where I lived, I could grow up to 72 plants. That's my limit. Obviously, they're not at the same time. They're staged out, but they count anything that is cannabis as a cannabis plant, which is really funny because I found out that they can't do that. In order for them to count it as one of your plants, it has to have a THC count. You hear about that
Mhm.
one?
Yeah, I've heard about that one as well, and I know the MRA isn't recognizing that currently, but yeah,
They
I know what
should.
you're talking about. Yeah, I
They
agree.
fucking should.
I agree. It's hemp until it starts turning. So,
Exactly. And it's funny because at that very same trial, we witnessed a gentleman who was in support of the MCMA. Okay, that's a Michigan Cannabis Manufacturers Association. Don't let that title fool you. They don't give a shit. That's what we're gonna say. That's the nicest thing I can say. But there's a gentleman. I'm not gonna say his name. Because it seems like every time I say his name, I have to fucking deal with him, and I don't want to deal with him, so I'm just not gonna say the guy's name. He was presenting his case, and let's face it, it was very well versed, very well studied. Obviously, this guy does it as a profession, but it was interesting because he decided to use props. Okay, all right. He sat down a bottle of liquor, which I'm all too familiar with. Let me just tell you. He sat down, what was it? Some aspirin, some ibuprofen. He sat down a bunch of different stuff, and then he sat down a little. Before he did all that, he said that he didn't have any weed on the table when he said this. He goes, all of these things you have to show an ID for, and they're taxed and da 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 da. I wanted to be like, time out. Everything on that table is addictive and has killed someone. Okay. Then he pulled out
Yep.
weed from a dispensary, and it was prepackaged and it looked good. I don't remember what it was. Okay. It could have been some kind of, industrial boof that they're serving us that's been remediated, but we won't get into that bullshit just yet. That's for the second part of the show. Now you'll know
Right.
what's coming. He pulled it out. Okay. That's something that if it wasn't boof, I would probably purchase because it looks pretty. I'm kidding, but I get it, the aesthetic.
Mhm.
Then he pulls out a Ziploc bag that obviously he just bought. It was like, this is the shit that we need to get rid of. It's no fucking different than the shit you just showed us. The only difference is they're paying you to say it and it looks prettier. That's it. The problem is, if that actually was caregiver weed, which I can tell just from looking at it because you've used way too many PGRs for that to actually be, weed to begin with, but we won't even talk
Mhm.
about that.
Mhm.
I can tell you there's a difference. You can show me caregiver weed and you can show me corporate weed, and I will be able to tell you the difference with in the dark. Just let me
Mhm.
smoke it. You understand that it's night and day. I wanted to tell him weed ain't never killed nobody ever. It's actually
Right.
saved lives. You see what I'm saying? Many of
Yep.
them, which is why we support, keeping America stoned, if you will, and MichiganWeedsters.com. If y'all
Yep.
ain't checked out Transcend, do it. If y'all ain't checked out Michigan Weedsters, do it. Seriously,
Yeah.
like this is the
Yeah.
fight, y'all. This is
Well,
this
and
is the fight.
the support is what got us here initially. So I remember vividly when we went legal. I saw it all over the news, and
Yep.
all our friends was like, "Yay! We did it. We did it." Well, okay, yep, we got to a point,
Mm-hmm.
but we didn't do shit. The real
We ain't
fight
done yet.
now,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, this actually put us in the ring.
Yep.
Now we're in the ring. So being in the ring, now we fight. Now we
Mm-hmm.
stand hard on what
Mm-hmm.
the voters' initiative already has done, and we stand on it, and we stand on it, and we stand on it.
It's
So,
funny because a lot of people there's a misconception, a stigma that weed smokers are lazy, they're stoners, they're couch locked, you'll melt like this is your brain on drugs and all that shit. If that is the case, just real quick, let me just if that is the case, okay, I'm willing to believe that. If that is the case, then how come we having this conversation in the Supreme Court?
right.
How come I'm stoned as fuck standing in front of you telling you, fuck your rules and bullshit? Don't tax this shit. What are you doing? How come I'm
Right.
standing in the state offices, with armed guards and
Yeah.
everything? How come I'm standing there telling you you're full of shit?
Right. Yeah.
That room was full of people.
How am I? I'm standing on the Capitol lawn during the caregivers rally, smoking a joint, and
I
state
need to.
police, didn't
I
give a
should.
shit.
I should hang and frame my Michigan Caregivers Rally T-shirt. I think I think you just did it. I think we're gonna throw it up behind me. Shit, I want
Hell yeah.
people to know.
Yeah.
That's the thing, man.
Yeah.
I say
Ryan did
this.
great with that.
Oh yeah.
Everybody
Oh,
that was
he did
involved did great.
amazing
Yeah,
with that.
everybody did great with that because it's just we need those kind of ideas,
Mm-hmm.
like even the
Mm-hmm.
education dinner. It it went well.
Yep.
It had some hiccups, blah blah blah. All political things do,
Yep.
but it got a point across and it helped with whatever group that we got there. And then came that recall and really dropped
Mm-hmm.
the brakes on this current group of bills.
I'm
So
really happy you mentioned the recall because I got stoned and forgot about it. But yeah, let's talk about the recall real quick. I appreciate you, man,
yeah,
so much. Seriously. All right.
no problem.
So everything to fight is going on right now. You've got corporate cannabis versus caregivers. It's one hell of a fight. It really is. But let's face it, for being the underdogs, we're standing our fucking ground pretty good, man. You know. So now there's this. So okay, let me back up. Let me just tell you what I've seen in my gray area happen on social media and in the news and things of that locally here in Lansing, Michigan, where the laws are made. Let's face it. So I first start seeing this little small bullshit ass smear campaign where they were saying, "Oh, by the way, there's people putting fentanyl in your weed." Okay, listen, I've been smoking weed longer than you've probably held that fucking bullshit office. Okay, I've heard of it. It's rumors, but ain't nobody selling weed or smoking weed want to stick fentanyl of all
Right,
shit in their weed. We might
right.
stick fucking keef in a bowl and make it taste better and shit. We might stick weed in
Right.
coffee. We ain't sticking no what no, we're trying to get away from fentanyl. I want you to understand that fentanyl was created by, big pharma. That's one of the
Mhm.
enemies. So just imagine how we feel with Pfizer stepping in the fucking game right now. We don't,
Yeah.
You were one of the ones that smeared us. We don't give a shit. That's
Yeah.
how I feel about ex Leos owning cannabis stores right now.
Right.
Let's move the
Yeah.
clouds out the way at this point so the sun can shine. There's hidden
Mhm.
innuendos in that, y'all. And if you know, you know. I saw that happen. I saw that smear campaign start. It got shut down real quick. And then when that didn't work, the whole testing shit happened.
Mhm.
Okay, okay, that's fine. Test our shit. Now, like you said, you pay the exact same amount as a corporate cannabis place to test your shit. And thank you for
Mhm.
doing that. You're going to have to pay that up and eat that, until it gets better. And I hope it does. But again, thank you
Mhm.
for that. That's more than, a contribution at this point. It's a sentiment to be remembered. And I will remember, obviously. But you're paying the same to get it tested. You know what I'm saying? And things of that nature. When
Mhm.
theirs is failing testing.
Right. And
Hmm.
that's a big bitch right there.
Mhm.
Especially as a
Mhm.
caregiver, because I again coming from such a passion of the plant, and how I grow it, how I care for her, I've been testing for years, and I've done it
Mhm.
for myself mainly and my patients. So when I provide a medicine to somebody and they're like, "Holy cow, this did such amazing things for my rheumatoid arthritis," I
Right.
want to understand why.
Yep.
So now, okay, I'm going to take this wild animal cookie strain that I have and I'm going to dissect that son of a bitch as I grow it. And I'm going to test her, and then I'm going to put those tests next to each other, just like a real scientist would, except I'm not a scientist.
Sounds like a
And
craft.
yeah, and I'm going to take that information and I'm going to make that plant the best it can be for the person that needs to be administered to. So it's, the big boys will not do that, and
No.
not never. Yeah.
No, because it's a numbers
So,
game for them. How much can we grow? How much can we pump out? How much can we remediate to get, sales numbers to keep all the lights on? When I
yeah.
heard, okay, listen, and this next company, listen, I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just going to use them as an example. Obviously, you know where I stand. I don't really like this company, but it is what it is. There's Loom Cannabis here in Michigan. Okay,
Mhm.
they have entered the game, let's put it that way, with their 30th store location in the state of Michigan. Now, if that's not an attempt at a fucking monopoly, come on, man. 30
Yeah.
stores? What are you,
Yeah.
McDonald's?
And that's where I've been arguing the point to some others too, like, look, um, this is an already corporate company that has moved into this space laterally from another industry, and with the the ability to do it financially
Right.
and
Their
structurally
weed tastes like
corporately.
rubber, by the way. If you know, you know.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And by doing that, yeah, you got 30. There shouldn't be an allotment for one company to own 30. Even if I were Transcend decided to franchise out and there should be a stop point.
Yeah.
That only makes sense,
Yeah.
you know.
You know,
So
it's funny
we'll
because,
see.
like, if I sat here, let's say, with the CEO and founder and owner, operator, whatever of Loom, and he's like, okay, so, but did you try it? And I'm like, yeah, I spent a ridiculous amount on an eighth just to see, man. Okay,
Mhm.
just see, is it worth, the bite? He's like, well, I got your money once, didn't I? You stupid fuck. Like
Right.
you got that's as far as you're gonna go. You didn't get my
Yeah.
support. That's my
Right.
point. So they only look at the numbers, and that's the only argument that they're gonna have to have. Not to mention, it's companies such as Loom. I can't speak on Loom because I can't say that I don't know about their testing. I'm just telling you about
Mhm.
what I do know. There's companies such as Loom that have
Mhm.
failed testing. Okay,
Right.
failed testing with mold, metals, other remediated products. Okay, and then they go on to boast that, oh, it's okay to have remediated products as long as you label them. Now, hang
Yeah.
on 2 fucking seconds here. Okay, this is a medicine. Now we're fucking with people's medicines over profit, but it is what it is. Pills over
With a
profit.
microwave.
That's exactly. Now,
Yeah.
I want you to explain, Mr. Fun Guy, if, the people at home, what does remediated marijuana, what is it, and why should we not smoke it?
Well, to my knowledge, um, it's the only way that you can pass testing if you failed testing. So
Hmm.
there's an out.
So you're
Um,
given a second chance, yeah.
yeah, and from to my knowledge, that there's a few different ways. There's maybe some sprays and soaks, and then there's a microwave way
Yep,
where they're literally microwaving it, and
yep,
you're killing the bacterias and the fungals and the this and the that. So when it goes through testing, it passes. Well, you can only imagine what microwaves do to our food. What's
oh
it
yeah,
doing to the terpene profile and doing to your THC contents and things like that? So that shit should never. I don't even know why
nope,
the industry is allowing that, because it's like, oh, you put out a bad batch of beer. Well, if you put it through a couple strainers, it'll
yeah.
be cool. That's
So
not gonna fly.
no, I want to paint another, illustrious picture here for people, just in case they don't grasp that concept, because they're not familiar with terps and stuff like that. That's fine. I hope you go learn what terpene profiles are and learn more about this. But let me just paint a picture for you real quick, and kind of, I don't mean to mansplain it, but I do want to cover all, facets of what's going on because it is important. Imagine you have a really nice Delmonico steak, very nice, like that. You S&P that shit, and then you throw it on your grill, get your grill marks, bud. You know what I'm saying? Delicious, delicious meal. Okay, for some reason, let's say that it fails testing or whatever have you, or that steak's not good enough or whatever have you. In order to bring it up to snuff, you throw the bitch in the microwave. Are you serious? That is a sin. That is what are you fucking doing? Now you're not you're I mean, if we want to talk about rubber here and steaks, well, let's call Loom up. But the point is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
it's you don't do that, all right? And the fact that we're
Mhm.
even allowing people to have second chances at remediated product, that's not okay at
No.
all,
No.
at all. We don't know, but we don't even know how far the vastness of cannabis curing things goes because we weren't allowed to study it for all these years. People did, but that's not the point. We
Yeah.
there's a stigma. Okay, so that being said, we also don't know what remediated products is going to do to us medically. You understand?
Hmm.
I don't want to create an issue where, listen, no one's died from cannabis, but if you start doing this remediated boof and shit, I would
Hmm.
absolutely hate to somebody to have died from cannabis. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Smoking
Yeah.
remediated product, putting trust in the
Yeah.
corporations. That's not what we're about, man.
Yeah.
And I just want to
Another
clear that
thing
up a little bit.
another thing too is that I think it's overlooked a little bit.
Hmm.
The approval and the OMRI ratings that are needed for growing cannabis in the recreational space
Right.
is far different than um, some of the other ones, but there's not enough oversight on these companies creating these nutrients and creating some of these synthetics and hormone boosters for the plants because we don't know what that's coming out.
Right.
Uh, good, bad, or otherwise. Some of them are absolutely, no good in any regard, and some people are, using those, and we need that education so people know not
Hmm.
to use those things.
Oh,
And
exactly.
then the industry.
I I won't lie to you. I've been growing cannabis for a few years now. Okay. Just start. I mean, it was different growing it back in the day because you didn't give a shit about terpene profile. So, here's the thing we're seeing in social media right now. At least from what I've just briefly seen, the 10-year picture. Cannabis 10 years ago was a brick weed. It was brown. We didn't give a shit. There were seeds in it. And now it's this beautiful flower that you just so happen to incinerate. You know what I mean? So it's
Mhm,
come a long way, even in 10 years. Um,
mhm.
and so, furthermore, like there is education from growing the plant. I think that everybody should at least research it before they want to, and then as they're doing it, as you do. You are a cannabis, you grow cannabis for a profession, and you still research it. Doing your COAs and things of that nature.
Yeah,
Why shouldn't a new person? Furthermore,
absolutely.
I've tried a little bit of everything. I won't lie to you. I've tried a little bit of nutrients, not much. I didn't really dig it. I didn't really like it. Then you get into the whole white ash thing and flushing and all of that.
Mhm,
And then, you go the organic route. Okay, that was
mhm.
a little better. I dug that. You know what I'm saying? It was weird having worms inside my house, but I got used to it real quick. You know what I mean? But,
Yeah.
the whole compost and stuff like that. Now, I will say
Mhm,
this composting and using it as fertilizer in my plant, that was pretty smart. That was pretty
mhm,
smart. Eggshells, y'all. Eggshells. I ain't talking about the white eggs that you get that from the grocery store. I'm talking about the brown eggs that you get from
mhm.
free range chickens. The
Yeah.
calcium content in that is probably one of the best things that you can stick in your actual plants themselves.
Yeah,
I
absolutely. It is
I
great.
noticed my girls were a lot happier when I did straight organic. Now, the one thing that I don't like in a lot of nutrients, and this is just a personal thing, is the sodium content. I don't like that.
Mhm. Yeah, them salts. And
Hmm.
they're getting away from that with some of these other ones.
I noticed that. Yep.
Yeah, they're just starting to work away from them salts because it's a lot of work too, because you got to
Yep.
create a microbial life in there to eat those salts as well. And
Hmm.
it's, there's other ways. But like you said too, the industry is like trying to hit record numbers every day, So again, some of these synthetic companies, um, they're trying to create whatever they can, and there's no real oversight. So we
No.
we need some oversight.
Yeah, exactly. We need to make a good solid foundation and start, moving forward with this instead of trying to attempt to break grass ceilings. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like
Yeah.
it's let's stop worrying about setting records. We're going to set the records because it was non-existent before. So it's kind of being,
But,
the principle of a homeschool in that matter. You know what I mean? Like, oh, hey, cool. I've got all these smart kids. You have two. They're your sons. And of course, that's the, whatever, man. Come on.
yeah.
So let's just let that happen as it is. Really our
Hmm.
own competition is ourselves. And, if we can grow a plant, let's say we grow a plant that cures cancer today. Okay. Well, the goal is they're like, you've cured cancer. That's the worst of it all. No, there's a lot more shit we could work on. And doing the testing and doing the research and doing what we're doing in a year, you're going to tell me we're not going to have, more studies on that? No, that's the way that it's happening, and that's the
Hmm.
entire reason for Transcend, the entire reason for Michigan Weedsters. It's a movement, y'all.
Yeah.
And I couldn't support it any less, honestly. I mean, it's as
Well,
soon as
thank
I
you.
saw Michigan Weedsters, I was like, yeah, yup, this
Yeah.
is needed. I saw this coming a mile away because
Right.
we've tried. Let's face it, we've tried.
Mhm.
With Michigan, there's different caregiver groups in Michigan, so-called, alleged. We've already seen a few of these caregiver groups take some bribes from corporate cannabis, which is again no bueno.
Right.
We've seen people being called out for being corporate cannabis people and supporting it. Ergo, the
Hmm.
boycott list. You know all
Sure.
about that. You know what I mean? It
Hmm.
doesn't matter what side you agree with. It doesn't. At the end of the day, you have to agree with cannabis. Period. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah,
I
we have to
have
be together.
noticed. Oh, exactly.
Mhm.
If you
Yeah.
have to be, you have to move forward with the caregiver and medicinal part of cannabis. If you don't, you're only doing it for either recreation or profit.
Mhm.
Period.
Right. Yeah.
That's it. And what I mean by that is this. Recreation is your home grow. Okay. Obviously, we're talking craft cannabis here with caregivers. And then if you're talking profit, you're looking at corporate cannabis. Well, that's
Mhm.
funny. There's three of those financial facets and reasons. There's three. That just makes sense. But that's not how the government works. It should,
Yeah.
but that's not how the government works. And now you know why I'm an
Mhm.
anarchist.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, man. I've had weed from all three facets. Now that home grow, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's pretty good. And
Yeah.
it
Absolutely.
costs some money to grow it, but it's better than paying what I would on my, on all these pills that they would want to put me on. And with
Yeah.
craft, that's craft is basically allowing someone else to do it for you if you don't have the room or you don't have the know-how or whatever have you. It's your
Mhm.
caregiver part. Everybody is in pain. Let's go there to heal. And then you've got corporate
Mhm.
where I find it funny that in order to emphasize their argument against home grows and caregivers and everyone else, they have to use outside sources and examples such as alcohol. Let's face it, I've seen alcohol destroy lives and weed save them. All right, mine
Mhm.
being first and foremost. So why would you use something so toxic and destructive as an example to help emphasize your view on cannabis, which is completely remediated at best?
Mhm. Yeah.
It's just
Well, it's because
it's
they're from that far other side, and the corporate cannabis, if you want to really think about it, 10, 15, 20 years ago or whatever,
mhm.
all of them boys that are involved were completely and 100% against it and
Yep.
voting against any initiative or any petition or anything. All of them were like, no, 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 no. So
Yep.
now they're all yes, yes, yes. And,
Because of
you
that
and I,
money.
yeah, fuck them, whatever. Let them do whatever the hell they want. People will accept them and people won't, let
You
it
know,
be.
when somebody asks me the difference between caregivers and corporate cannabis, I tell them it's need versus greed. Okay, and
Hmm.
they're like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" There's like, yeah, you can rhyme words. Thanks, Dr. Seuss." And I'm like, "Sit back down." Okay, we have a need for caregivers and for helping people heal and stuff like that. There's an absolute fucking need for that. Ergo, we wouldn't have started in 2007. Some of us before then, the medical, we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for caregivers. Period. And then you've got the
Hmm.
greed with corporate cannabis. Well, if you want to follow their intentions and figure out why they're doing what they're doing, it ain't because they're healing. It ain't because of their stories. I don't give a shit what they tell you. Follow the fucking money. Period.
Hmm.
So you're
Yeah.
looking at two different sides of the green, if you will. One you can smoke, the other one people die for. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Money will ruin all kinds of shit. Now it's funny because there have been a few people that have pointed out, well, you're getting paid doing. I bitch, I ain't make no money. What are you talking about? I spend
Hmm.
money. If you think I make
Right.
anything, you are dead wrong. And
Yeah.
it's those
Yeah. And
same
I'm not gonna
people. Sorry, go ahead.
sit here and say that from Transcend side that I did start a business to create an opportunity for
Yeah.
myself, my family, my life
Right.
style, but it's coming from that honest space,
Mm-hmm.
where I've spent 8 years giving, and I will continue
Mm-hmm.
this my entire recreational grow, um, all 12 plants I brought back and created RSO, and I've been giving it out. And again, I will continue to, because I have that ability. So I don't need my recreational plants. I can give those away and help people with that. And on my caregiver side, sustain my patients and myself. Um,
Exactly.
we
And
should all be able to operate that way.
absolutely, absolutely. I see federal legalization right around the corner. They're gonna dance around it pretty. The reason that I know that it's coming because you've already got Canada saying that they want to open up trade with for cannabis between the U.S. So that's big right there. Okay, a lot of my
Hmm.
Canadian friends and family and business partners and things like that have been like, "Hey man, did you hear?" Yeah, I know. Calm down. I don't get my news from where you get your news. I knew before you did. And they're like,
Hmm.
"What?" I'm like, "I'm not important. It's my job to know." Period.
Hmm.
And they're like, "Well, why didn't you tell me?" I was gonna until you told me first. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. But So you see that, and then you see Amazon going, trying to get in the delivery game. All right. And then you see all of these companies, such as, and I'm just going to say this one because it's across the nation, cookies. You see all these
Mhm.
companies opening up all these stores across the nation. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, you don't think they're going to have delivery on the internet? Nah, man. I'm telling you right now, they're definitely going to do this federally, legalization or decriminalization. Either way, it's coming. Okay. And so
Mhm.
when that happens, then hopefully, I've talked to Rick Thompson about this. Hopefully, they let states do what they want to do. You see what I'm saying? Kind of figure it out, state by state. I think that that would be brilliant. At the same time, Michigan ain't done yet. I don't think that we're ready for that. I don't think that
Mhm.
anyone in the United States is fucking ready for federal legalization. We say we are. The only
Right.
thing we are ready for, and the government fucking knows this, is for companies to, corporations, corporate cannabis, to basically go, listen, we don't want to test our shit. Here's a bunch of money for us. Are
Mhm.
you serious right now? Look at all the
Right.
bullshit that Amazon does. Look at all the bullshit that these corporate companies get away with. Okay,
Right.
look at BP. And the
Mhm.
oil that's spread. They would actually rather pay the fines on that than do anything about it because it's
Right.
cheaper.
Yep.
That's fucked.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's all okay, and it's all swept under, the rug by the media
Yep.
our leaders, and it's shit.
It's a hundred
Absolutely.
percent, 100%,
Yeah.
man. But
Mm.
I think that one of the things that I hope, sorry, one of the things that I hope happens with federal legalization or decriminalization is that we can take all of this land that we've destroyed and plant cannabis on it to try and remediate and fix what we've broken, and kind of try
Mhm.
to stop the clock on this climate change. A lot of people
Yeah.
are like, dude, climate change doesn't exist. All right, well, I'm going to turn your attention to the 60-degree day that we had in December in Michigan.
Mhm.
That's all.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to
No,
say.
there's
That's
been
it.
the world changes. Yeah, if you can't accept that throughout history of time that the
Yep.
world has changed ice ages and floods,
Hmm.
then you're an idiot. I mean, it changes.
Exactly. Then you need to stop smoking what you're smoking and get on that good weed. That's what it is. Open
Right,
that
right.
mouth.
But you're right. If we can get hemp driving down in cannabis into the
Hmm.
ground and helping clean up some of our. I mean, it literally pulls arsenic out of the ground.
Yep.
Um, it pulls radiation out of the ground.
Hmm.
Um, it like half-life's radiation. So if you
Yep.
have a 100-year radiation spot, you can bust it down to 50 by planting hemp in that son of a bitch. So that's
Don't smoke
remarkable.
that hemp, by the way. Don't
Yeah,
smoke
don't
that.
fuck with
Yeah,
that.
yeah, don't
Don't
fuck
fuck
with
with
that. You
that.
can use that. So, okay, so why would we do that? All right, well, just real quick, because let's face it, there's people that want to argue. All right. We would
Yeah.
do that so that we can take that byproduct, that biomass that has, radiation in it. You can get rid of that. The plant will
Mhm.
naturally do it. Break that down into hempcrete and start building houses and shit like that out of it because
And
we've even
roads, sure.
proven
Mhm.
hempcrete is flame resistant, mold resistant, and the such. It's a better insulator. Period. It's already revolutionary. Then you've got the hemp wood. I forget what that's called. And things like that. But it's
Mhm.
blowing people's fucking minds, and it's
Yeah.
cheaper, and you don't have to cut down fucking trees. I mean, cannabis is a tree, but you know.
Right.
It grows a lot quicker than that oak in your backyard that your
Yeah.
grandfather planted
120
900
days.
fucking years ago or some shit.
Right. Yeah. 120 days. I think you can have 16 acres to like
Yep.
an acre of hemp or something to that
That's a
value.
house.
Yeah.
Cut all
16
that
acres of
down.
woods.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
You cut all that down. Smoke it if it's not, if you're not doing phytoremediation, smoke that shit up. You got your medicine, make your products, make your oils, make your foods, take the byproducts and shit like that, like the biomass left over, put it into hempcrete, build your house.
Hmm. Yeah.
Why aren't we doing
Yeah.
that?
And you actually put a negative from what I've gathered in some of the studies. They've been
Hmm.
able to build a hempcrete house or a hemp house with a negative footprint. So it actually uh,
Yeah.
has so many, the negative carbon footprint.
Yeah.
Um, because there's, like I said, there's no problems with it. It's all natural. And it's fire resistant, mold resistant. You breathe cleaner air, just all kinds of things.
It's like
So,
it's if you build a house with hempcrete, it's in for people that know will know. It's like being from the Earth Clan and building like an Earth hut. You know what I'm saying? Like
right.
instead of an
Yeah.
igloo or some shit. But
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I think that's everyone's gonna start calling it a hippie hut, but that's fine. I don't give a shit.
Right.
I think that we've gone a long way from sticking the daisies in the barrels of M16s. You know, I
Hmm.
still think that we have the M16s aimed at us. They're always going to be like that. We're always going to be scrutinized because we're not at the top. You know what I mean? And it is what it is. But that's just it. Like, don't tell me that we live in the land of the free, then turn around and tell me what I can't do.
Yeah.
That's what I've never
Right.
understood. And that's why I'm, always an anarchist at heart. They're like, you can do whatever you want within the confines of what we tell you you can do.
Right.
Or it's a pay to play. If if
Yeah.
I want to listen, there's far too many rich assholes out there in the world that have made a living from doing absolute terrible things. Like leaking just oil into the water and shit like that, burning down. This it's not good. No bueno,
Mhm.
y'all. Okay. Then
Yeah.
they say, "Oh, I donated to charity." Yeah, but that doesn't mean that you get to be a piece of shit.
Right. Yeah. Coca-Cola, for instance, I think it was Kalamazoo or somewhere a few years back had they were getting rid of their wastewater into some kind of pond in the back, and it wound up affecting the community in the back, hurting a few animals and maybe even killing a few dogs and hurting some people. So,
Yep.
yeah, they put a park in that local town or something, like who cares? That doesn't mean shit if
That
he
doesn't do
doesn't give
shit.
you the golden ticket to be an asshole. Right.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I think that the world definitely needs more people who give a shit because we've come from generations where people don't give a shit. Now it's funny because those same generations that don't give a shit, well, weed wasn't legal then.
Hmm.
We're not lazy stoners. We're just doing what you couldn't. We're
Hmm.
giving a shit. Clearly you couldn't. You've got millions of dollars, you got all this, all these connections, all this leeway, all of this, pull, and you ain't doing shit.
Yeah.
If that don't make you feel really shitty and a little like, it's annoying for me to have to call people out like that. It really is, man.
Right.
No
Well,
wonder
and you
there's
take
not
these
enough weed to smoke.
Right, and you take these smaller entities, like ourselves, trying to. So there's now quite a few
Oh
nonprofits
yeah,
in the state of
yeah,
Michigan. The Heroes
as there
Product
should be.
Project, that one I completely support. There's a expungement program that I was a part of. I got my cannabis charges expunged, and
There you go.
you know, there's a lot of people trying to do the right thing in the cannabis space, and we just got to keep pushing that. Uh, Definitely this next year. You know.
It's funny because, and I've had this conversation a million times, but it's still relevant each time. We're not. It hasn't even started yet. Like I said, man, you hold the title for being like the fourth or one of the very first micro businesses in the state of Michigan. What does that mean? That's only proof to the point that it's only started. You
Mhm.
understand? Like
Right.
there's a shit ton of dispensaries. um Loom has 30. Okay, so how come there's only four micro businesses and Loom has 30 fucking stores statewide?
Right.
Are you kidding me? Okay, if
Right.
that doesn't tell you that there's a need for micro businesses and caregivers, whom again, let me go back. The entire reason Michigan is put on the fucking map cannabis wise is because of the caregivers. That we've had an institutionalized, foundation of caregivers laws, medical laws,
Hmm.
okay, dating back
Yeah.
to 2007. Some of these companies weren't even started in 2007 in different states. You understand? It
Right.
was
Yeah.
some of them were started a few years ago by ex-leos or people that used to lock up people, and then they're like, "Oh my
Hmm.
god, shit, I can get all this funding," and boom 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 boom. You know what I'm saying? Then you got
Right.
companies flying in from everywhere touching Michigan soil for whatever reason, just bringing about their money, okay?
Yeah.
Even more so, you've got people from Michigan that drive around, if and push this bullshit rubber weed that are just like, I'm gonna
Mhm.
monopolize the whole thing, and I don't care who knows it. And that's the
Right.
listen. You can monopolize car tires all you want. I don't think that you should have 30 fucking stores. I really don't. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just I don't like McDonald's. I don't like
No.
Chick-fil-A. Like, there's nothing
Right.
convenient
Because
about
the
that.
only way you're going to sustain that is also having a whole mess of grows, because you can
Yep.
stack those as well.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get that big, that's why I love the micro, in the sense that it minimizes you to a little bit, but keeps you in a safe place to be right with the plant. Because once you get to 1,500 plants and you got rooms that are like 150, 200, 300 plants in them,
Mm-hmm.
you change the game. You got automated water. you're not touching that plant. You're not walking in there and you're not swazzing her and you're not taking care of her. You're not taking what is needed to take care of
Right.
her. You're just growing it, and it changes the game completely for product.
And that's why we, the testing, and they're failing the testing left and right. Absolutely, man. Listen, anyone who knows me, excuse me, knows exactly where I stand on it. They know why. I'm sure you can pull it from this episode as to where I stand. But that's the thing. I'm always going to be standing here.
Hmm.
And when you've made your millions of dollars, selling your booth and remediated products and this and that and the other, I'm still going to be standing here because the one thing that home growers and corporate or one thing that home growers and in craft cannabis yourself agree upon is quality over quantity. Okay,
Hmm.
I know one outside grow right now that is caregiver founded. That does have a little money out from outside states, and it's okay. And here is why: it's caregiver founded, it's driven by caregivers, and it's grown for caregivers. These people that I know don't want to affiliate with anything corporate. Yes, they are a corporation. Yes, they can grow a shit ton of fucking weed, but at the
Hmm.
same time, they're not they're one company. They're not numerous
Right.
companies, and they're keeping the money, whether you want to agree with me or not, in the state of Michigan. I've investigated
Hmm.
this shit because I was like, listen, if I'm gonna back you, I want to know that I'm not a piece of shit and X, Y, and I'm gonna look into this, and I
Hmm.
did, and all of it's above board. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I looked, and I know what to look for. You've got to convince
Hmm.
me first before I say anything about it.
Right.
And I think that having them on our side as caregivers and in our corner is only going to help us a little bit because yes, they're growing a huge quantity, but the quality never wavered, and that's the point we want to make. We
Hmm.
focus on the quality. So when
Yeah.
you start going quantity, that's when you're starting to walk away from the entire reason we're doing what we're doing as cannabis professionals. you know
Hmm.
i think that's I think that you're going places, definitely, man. I think Transcend needs another location. I want to see 30 stores, in the next few years. I want to see a contest with these people, and
Sure.
I want to make sure that above all else, people can heal from this plant. I don't doubt you at all. That's not even a question. What I do doubt is when I go to these caregiver rallies and I see these billboards purchased by corporate cannabis companies, conveying, "Oh, hey, take care of your elderly" and stuff like that. They
Yeah.
don't give a
I
fuck.
hate that. Yeah, because you know who's cried in his hands because he's lost a cancer patient. That's me.
Yep.
Who's cried in his hands and on shoulders of others because the medicine that I made and provided for them
Mhm.
saved them their lives and put them in a place of health.
Yep.
Um, they don't understand that. They don't
No,
understand how deep this shit really goes in our
they're not
soul
empathetic to the
as we
plight.
help
Yeah.
people. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
So.
it's a lot of these people, and if I can add more to that point, please. A lot of these people aren't looking for cures. They've got terminal cases. We're just trying to give
Mhm.
them a better quality of life until the end of it. And that's the
Mhm.
unfortunate part. I mean, then we can go on and talk about these. There was a gentleman, I read this last night, who had COPD, which for those who don't know is chronic obstruction pulmonary disease, and it is terminal. I don't care what it is. You slowly suffocate. You can get a lung transplant and that'll help, but if you can't afford a lung transplant, then you're basically going to suffocate to death. So a 60-year-old man from Colombia was ethically euthanized and ended his life. You know what I'm saying? Because he was terminally ill. Now I don't. I think that he should have been able to reach out to cannabis because it does help. But listen, it was his choice. It was his life. His family. I yo, I can't say anything about it. But what I can
Mhm.
comment on is this: what if that gentleman was in Michigan? He was like, listen, yo, Rick, man, I need to talk to you. And you're like, let's go, man. You got all the time you need, baby. Here's a joint. You and we would sit down with them. All right.
Mhm.
We know what it feels like to pull that emotion. My mom died of COPD. Okay.
Mhm.
So when we sit down and we say, hey, let's cure this, let's give you a better quality of life. And you're like, listen, the doctor right here in this piece of paper said, I got maybe 5 years. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the morality of that is earth sundering. Okay. And then when they hand that to you and you read that, what do? You go, dude, here's a bunch of weed. No, it's more than that. You go,
Yeah. I I
okay,
I
sorry,
tell
go ahead.
them that you don't let those doctors speak death
Yeah,
on you,
right.
because that's what these diagnoses are. And I honestly feel the spirit is one of the most to fighting back cancer and fighting back some of
Oh, yeah.
these other things. And if you get told something so abrupt and permanent as a time frame, and you accept that, you're gonna put yourself in a losing position. And I think if you keep positive and hold steady and use cannabis and the value that maybe Rick Simpson has
Yep.
provided us with his information, you can see a drastic, I mean, a 180-degree
Hmm.
turn
Hmm.
around. So,
To add a little bit more to that, I just had an episode with a nurse who got her PhD in nursing, and she sells CBD. And we had a conversation real quick. It was like, okay, so why can't doctors say anything about cannabis? So to recap, if I go to my doctor, I'm like, hey, I'm a cannabis user. What can you tell me about that? And they're like, I can tell you that I've had other patients who have had success with it.
mhm,
They can't say anything more than that. Right
right.
there, right there. But they'll tell
Yeah,
you can die.
right.
That's my
Yeah,
point. So
yeah.
they're being forced. I get it. You got a job to do. I get it. You can
Mhm,
only say Hippocratic oath and all that other shit. I also get it that you got big pharma above you pulling that going dance Pinocchio. I get
yeah,
that shit. All
right.
right. So when I look at you eye to eye, okay, my own doctor, and I don't want to call him out. He knows who he is. He is a fan of the show. He loves everything. He smokes as well. Okay. He looked at me dead in the eye and goes, all right, what are you gonna do for your asthma? And I look dead at him and I go, I'm gonna smoke weed. He goes, all right. That's all he said because he knows. He
Do you
knows.
know
I mean, that's
why it
sorry.
works? Do you know why it works for you? In the sense that it does. Are you familiar with medically is happening in the lungs? Um,
I've read about it. I know that it's good, but no, I actually don't. I really want. Yeah, no, I don't.
from my research and from
Hmm.
some of the things that I've seen and heard, it it represses in COPD, for instance, like you mentioned earlier. It represses that secretion of the mucus that provides that drowning feeling that they get.
Right.
So the lungs uh, don't secrete that, and then they're also allotted more movement because COPD also restricts the functionality and the movement of the lungs, its expansion, um, and it alleviates that and allows uh, more airflow. And I believe very similar to asthma.
It's a
Uh,
it's a brachiodilator, as well as it's a brachiodilator and a vasodilator. What that means is it
mhm,
does expand the lungs so that you can contract more air and breathe, whereas asthma and COPD that kind of constrict that. In
mhm,
addition to that vasodilator, it does. A lot of people have the panic attacks because it opens the veins, the blood flow. It increases blood flow, which is also good for your lungs and everything of that nature.
mhm,
Furthermore, the only thing that you really have to worry about when combusting and when smoking anything is a thing called pleurisy. Pleurisy is the
mhm.
depletion of the inner silica linings of the lungs, meaning that little, like, they say drink water. That's just what you need. It cuts down mucus and it helps it keep it moist in there. And dry hits always hurt. We know that. Um, that's actually that exact same research. Everything that you've said, I've said, everything is being looked at to combatant COVID. They're saying
Yeah,
that CB1
yeah.
receptors and CB2 receptors in cannabis are creating like a resin, resin coating your lining so that the COVID basically can't stick inside of your lungs, creating
Wow.
PEs and everything of that nature.
Huh.
Whether,
Well, that's
yeah,
pretty
exactly.
impressive. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if it in there too. I mean, I feel like I've been through this entire pandemic without any sickness. So
Good, good.
I do attest that to a healthy lifestyle
Hmm.
in diet, but
Hmm.
as well as I think cannabis has a preventative aspect to her.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And we just got over cannabis. We just got over COVID here. It was here in the household. Um,
Hmm.
we had it just after Thanksgiving, and I literally, it was like last week, the week before, just got, like, I don't feel fatigue anymore. You know, I am pretty
Mhm.
decently active. I am COVID fat. It is what it is, but I'm old enough to be
Mhm.
fat. Um, you know, but I feel like I have all of my lung function now, if not a little bit more than I had to begin with. And honestly,
Good.
the only thing that I've been doing is dabs. Like when I had COVID, I couldn't get anything in me. Period. It just wasn't
Uh-huh.
happening. I tried smoking a joint, didn't work, man. And then as it kind of ran its course at the first couple of weeks, then I could start dabbing again, and then I started dabbing again. Now, why dabbing? What? Okay, well, first and foremost, let me break it down for you. Anything combustion wise, whether it's cigarettes, it doesn't matter. Anything combustion wise is not good for your lungs. Period. That's why
Right.
bongs are great, because there's no combustion. Okay, you're not breathing in direct fire. So
Yeah.
anything concentrates is immediately, better for you. Furthermore,
Mhm.
if I can know a little bit about what's healing me and feel good, ergo dabs are great, then I'm
Mhm.
going to, and I'm gonna, heal my body to do so. If I cough a little bit, it is what it is. I still have to get one of those masks where I wear out in public where it says it's not COVID, it's from weed or something. You know what I mean? But
Right.
it is
Right.
what it is. Man,
Yeah.
we could sit
But no,
here and sorry.
concentrates do wonderful
Oh yeah.
things. At in the aspect of addiction, I've seen concentrates help many people steer away from their very strong addictive natures,
Right.
whether it be alcohol, cigarettes, even as far as heroin and cocaine. I've been on the couch with somebody that was struggling in that manner, and he literally took a dab, sat back in the couch, and said, "Man, thank you guys so much."
Mm-hmm.
Do that
Mm-hmm.
because now I don't feel the urge to go create a bigger problem in my life. So, yay for dabs.
Exactly, man. It's I gotta try some of your dabs. We were talking about that. I was like, yo, man, I gotta get out there and get some of those dabs for sure. Tell
Yeah.
the people a little bit about what you got and where they can find you, and kind of like, do you have any specials going on? Like, what's the scoop with Transcend?
Well, currently right now we're dancing around with our marketing a little bit.
Okay.
We opened in October and we're right next to the historic Speedway in Hartford, Michigan. It's a dirt track, and the summer months are really kind to us in the sense that we can integrate into the racing community through sponsorships and being right there.
Right.
And
Because who doesn't
so
want to
we're
get
gonna
stoned and watch people drive in a circle, right?
right, and I
Yeah.
think it also that community is a heavy drinking community,
Yeah.
and I think it would be a nice light to shine
I
cannabis
agree.
wise in
I agree.
sponsorship and just you always got your kids there and stuff too, so like instead of drinking a six pack, maybe you burn a small bowl and you just have a good time, you
I'd
know.
rather see a 6-inch joint in someone's mouth than a six pack.
Right,
Just
right,
me.
exactly. And it tames down some of those fights, I
Mm-hmm.
believe, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we're located. And then, yeah, we currently working with Diamond Den Extracts, which is also out of the Caregiver motto.
Mm-hmm.
They're also just partnered with me, and they are doing our extracts. So we are going to start having some more gummies and some more edibles. Um, that's a tricky one too because
Yeah.
testing really eats us up there. That testing, they want our live rosin hash tested, our bubble hash, and then
Mm-hmm.
when we press it, they want that tested, and then when we put it into an edible, they want that tested, and it's just killing us dead. Um,
Oh,
so
absolutely.
we
But at
were
the same time, you're not above doing it. You're not saying no.
right.
You're
No,
like
we're running it. You
absolutely.
got to
Yeah.
do it. Yeah, you
Yeah.
got to. It's that's the compliance, but
It's
I'd
that
like to see
research
it
too.
be a little easier. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there
No,
too,
man.
like I said, it makes sense if my bubble hash came out good and then
Right.
I decide to press it into a rosin and then I put it in the edible, I should just have to test that edible.
In theory, but I get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's just another way for the state to have a. I get it. Fine. It's not a big deal. It's just listen, if I already have the COAs from my bubble hash rosin and I put that into an edible, then I shouldn't have to test that edible. I get what you're
yeah,
saying, so pick
yeah,
one or the other, but at the same time, if I'm paying for double testing, the only thing that's different is I've taken a smaller amount of said bubble hash and stuck it into my brownies. Are you kidding me here? I
right,
wouldn't add more because that's why would I do that? You know what I mean? But
right.
I
Yeah.
get you, man. For anybody who doesn't know, transcendmi.com. Check it out. MichiganWeisters.com. everything that's coming out of, Transcend and Michigan Weedsters is everything that I find near and dear to my heart. You're aligning and working with Amy Cooper and Latrish Matson, Ryan Bringold, people that stand for caregivers in the state of Michigan. I've fought alongside them, at the caregivers rally, at a couple of the events. Some of them I couldn't go to. I was sick, y'all. Sorry, it happens. I got the Rona, if you will. But, you know, we're
Sure.
not done. We're out here doing what we can do, for caregivers, for patients, for everyone to just basically live and exist in a different and a better world. Because honestly, you can either speak about change or you can be the change. Rick, man, I appreciate you coming on and talking with us today. I think that we've educated
Thank
a
you.
lot more, people. I hope that we have. I think that we've cleared a bunch of stuff up. Um, is there anything that you want to let people know before we kind of get out of here?
No, just I appreciate the support, and I appreciate the
Absolutely.
support in the regard to caregivers and keeping everything in a safe place, because that is, like you said, my premise, our premise. We want to make sure that big corporate does not uh, get what they really want. So
Exactly, exactly. Fuck corporate cannabis. At the end of the day,
yeah.
man, it's about healing instead of kneeling. I'm never going to bow
Mhm.
down to another person. I'm sorry. But at the same time, I am going to try and lift you up and try and heal you from whatever pain, whatever bullshit that you got going on in your life. We're going to try and fix it, man. Rick, I appreciate you coming on the show. Again,
Thanks, man.
transcendmi.com, michiganweedisters.com, y'all. My tokers, my jokers, my smokers. I'm Chef Rodney Leinhardt. This has been the Daily Chronicles, y'all. We'll see you next time. Peace.
See you.